There's a big difference between being a college student studying computer science and being a software engineer. And while I was really deliberate about my decision to go to college for computer science, I hadn't thought that much about what life would be like after I graduated as a software engineer and whether or not I would even enjoy that. So now that I've been a software engineer for a little bit less than 2 years, this is 19 reasons why you should consider being a software engineer. And yes, I will try to keep this short or else this video is going to take forever. All right, point number 1, which I'm sure many of you have already heard about, is compensation in software engineering is generally pretty strong. So I'll put some numbers up on the screen of what averages look like, but there's a good chance you've also heard about some of the crazy salaries and bonuses and stocks you can earn when you work at the top tech companies. Needless to say, even if you're not working at one of those places, you'll probably do pretty well if you're a software engineer. Point number 2, employment prospects and job security. So even if it doesn't seem like it recently with all the headlines around mass layoffs in big tech, software engineers are still in really high demand and unemployment rates are generally very low in that group, which means even if it's not for your dream company, there's a pretty good chance that as long as you're decently qualified and you apply to a lot of places, you should be able to get a job as a software engineer. Point number 3, return on investment. Software engineers generally don't need any advanced degrees or special certifications to do their jobs, and in some cases you don't even need a bachelor's degree, depending on the company. Compare this to a lot of other professions where you have to get advanced degrees on top of your bachelor's, you have to pass certain tests and get certifications, and software engineering starts to look like a pretty good return on investment, especially when you consider just how high a lot of the starting salaries are for new grads. Point number 4, software engineering involves a lot of problem solving. So some of this is in the code itself, but a lot of it is recognizing real world problems, figuring out how to translate those challenges into solutions, and then finding the right way to implement that. Especially with the ongoing rise of AI tools, software engineering is going to become less and less about knowing how to code up an implementation and more about knowing how to recognize and then address a certain real-world problem. Point number 5, there's a lot of flexibility in terms of what your work entails. Not all software engineers do the same thing, and there's a lot of different things that would be categorized under that umbrella of software engineering. Even if you don't like your first job straight out of school, as long as you don't completely hate coding and problem solving, then there's a pretty good chance you can find something that you enjoy and find fulfilling within software engineering. Point number 6, low barrier to entry. For me to learn how to code, I don't need any expensive equipment, I don't need access to a lab. All I really need is my laptop and a free IDE, or I can even do it in the browser. Especially in recent years with the rise of cloud computing, you never have to worry about spinning up your own servers, and a lot of the background logistics, all that's taken care of for you for very little money or free when you're first getting started. There's also a ton of resources available online for software engineers like this YouTube channel, which makes it really easy to start learning and experimenting from anywhere. Point number 7, work from anywhere. I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia, and work on a team that's based out of Redmond, Washington, all the way across the country, and a lot of other software engineers have jobs that are full-time remote. Some companies just don't offer this, and others are recently starting to mandate return to office, but software engineering lends itself really well to remote work, which means even in the long term, we should still have a lot of opportunities available that are fully remote. Point number 8, perks and benefits. Depending on the company, a lot of software engineers get really great perks and benefits, whether it's free meals, great healthcare, 401k matching, or anything else, and it seems like tech companies in general do a lot more of this than some other industries. Obviously, this doesn't pertain to all software engineering companies, and in recent years there have been some cutbacks, but it's definitely still worth mentioning. Point number 9, the huge scale of software engineering makes it possible to influence millions, if not billions, of people that you'll never meet, all while just sitting at your laptop typing lines of code. Now, this can be for good or for bad depending on the work that you're doing, but if you're looking for a job that has the potential to touch a lot of people's lives, this is it. Point number 10, not repetitive. Software engineers are constantly tackling new challenges, learning new languages and technologies, switching between projects, which means on a day-to-day basis, there might be some similarities. Every day is not going to be the most exciting day. You're not always going to be doing something new, but over the course of a year or a career, you're going to do a lot of different things, and it keeps you on your toes and keeps you from getting bored. Number 11, wide variety of cultures and company sizes. Whether it's a startup with less than 10 people or one of the biggest companies in the world, there's a huge range of different company cultures that you can expect to work for, which means there's a little bit of something for everyone. Depending on your risk tolerance and what you're kind of hoping for out of your career, there's a good chance you can find something that's a good fit for you. Number 12, Especially in recent decades, working in tech puts you on the cutting edge of societal breakthroughs, whether it was putting a personal computer in every home, a smartphone in every pocket, and now with advances in artificial intelligence and then augmented and virtual reality. There's a lot of really interesting stuff going on right now that has the potential to transform the state of the world over the next couple of years, and software engineers have a really big role in influencing that. Number 13, work-life balance. This obviously depends on the company you're working at, but a lot of software engineers have pretty good work-life balance. Whether it's having a flexible work schedule, not having to work too many hours, or just getting a lot of paid time off, if you're lucky and you find the right company, you can have really great work-life balance in tech. Number 14, depending on your role, you'll get to work a lot with customers to better understand their needs and their issues, either directly or indirectly, to help make your product better. This can be really rewarding to see how people are using your tool and the impact it's having on their lives, but also gets back into that idea of software engineering not just being about coding, but also doing a lot of problem solving. Number 15, speaking of not just writing code, being a software engineer involves a lot of thinking big when it comes to designing large-scale systems. People generally only think about the coding because that's the implementation step, but there's a lot of planning and architecting that has to happen before and during a project to make sure you can actually execute on what you're trying to do and to make sure you don't code yourself into a dead end. Number 16, build basically anything. At this point, most things are being limited by creativity and not by computational resources, which means if you have a lot of ideas and solutions to different real-world problems, if you understand the fundamentals of software engineering, you can build pretty much anything with just a few lines of code. Number 17, it's easy to start your own business. If you don't really like working for a boss, it's no secret that a lot of software engineers go out on their own and start their own companies. Regardless of whether these companies go on to succeed, it's a lot easier to get started as a one-person business in software engineering than in other fields where you have a lot of physical inventory or equipment costs, and there's also always the potential of getting VC funding if your project really starts to take off. Number 18, fast iteration. You can ship code every month or potentially every day instead of having super long development and release cycles. In some industries, you might need to wait years for customers to see what you've been working on, but in software engineering, turnaround times are generally a lot faster, which also makes it a lot easier to get feedback and to see if people like what you're doing, and if not, then you can quickly make changes. Finally, number 19, software engineering is still growing rapidly, which means there's a lot of investment being made into new languages and tools for the field. Writing code is a lot easier than it was 10 years ago, and especially in the next couple of years with some of the AI tools that are coming out, it's only going to get easier. And that means coding will become a lot less painful and a lot more accessible to everyone. Alright, if you enjoyed that video and you're trying to figure out if you want to major in computer science, then check out these videos where I talk about all the reasons why you should and shouldn't go into CS. Anyways, that's it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.